Well, it's one of those things where, when you're in your library and you're dusting your books, some of
Yes.
whom are older, some of them are younger, like the Iliad and all
Is
those
it
books.
library or library? Library, right?
Bibliotheca, I believe that's what it is.
Yeah, haven't you
My
been to
library.
school? They ever say to you, John, go down and get a book from the library?
Yeah. It's
I feel like they did.
when you go to your library and then you have to pass, the librarian and you tell them how they're doing and ask them, it's small talk, one of those things you
Sure.
have to, chat with them as they do librarian things. You have no idea why they do what they do, but things happen. The librarian comes up to me and passes a note, Rob, and this note, of course, had a V on it, and already we know what this is going on. So I opened the note, nice calligraphy, by the way, and the note said, so I I turned the radio on, I turned the radio up, and this woman sang my song, Lovers in Love, and the others ran away. Lovers are crying because the other won't stay. Again, mysteries from Venice. Hopefully, the people out there in the World Wide Web can tell us what was that about? What's going on? I don't know. Uh, Venice has some eclectic taste in music. It's all over the place. I feel that song that is from a song somewhere. I feel like that could be it.
Who knows? It could be taken off the back of somebody's tattoo that he saw or she saw on Venice Beach somewhere.
Well, honestly, Venice could do a lot. I know he is the warrior poet like Tupac. These are things that happen, but you know.
Poetic justice.
The two will always just interlick, Venice and Tupac Shakur. It's one of those things where they're both West Coast guys. These are one of those things. So, nonetheless, welcome everyone to the Heroes Quarantine podcast. I am one of your hosts, Dupe. With me is one of the owners, providers of.
Trying to hold up the logo.
Yep, which is meaningless for those who are listening on the non-visual forum, but nonetheless, imagine John trying to.
They got to tune in. What's up, folks?
That's John and the mischief himself, Mr. Rob Goodette.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night, Stuart and John.
Yes, salutations to you both. John,
I greet someone you bump into at 3 a.m. Like you can't say good morning, good evening. What do you say? Just what the hell are you doing up so late?
I usually say, please take my money and wallet.
Just take the money and wallet, please.
Yeah,
not again.
Leave me alone.
Honestly, it depends on the situation, John. If there's three things that can transpire. It could be a voice of Eastern European person, and that is very scary from the Baltic region. Be some sort of Serbian accent, and then you just drop your wallet, you put your keys down, and you walk away slowly. It could be a child's voice giggling, and then you just know you're about to be possessed and your life is over. Or it could just be, it's nonetheless. Well, welcome everyone as we are here to talk Moon Knight episode 5. The journey is almost over for John. He cannot wait to get there. One more to go, baby.
Breaking news! Moon Knight extending for an extra 10 episodes. Sorry, John.
No, Rob,
out of nowhere. Emergency filming.
Remember when Anger Management got that 100-episode pickup? It's like 100 episodes guaranteed. John, get ready. We're gonna get 100 episodes of Moon Knight guaranteed. I think that was what was it? That was. Oh man, that was the Charlie Sheen show after, but they kind of said we're gonna do a 60-episode pickup.
Yeah.
It was insane. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today as we discuss about the latest and greatest episode called Asylum. John, you have been sending us coffee emojis, yawning emojis, just little digs here and there about the remarks of the show. Did you Red Bull up in this episode? Give us your non-spoiler thoughts.
No, actually, so this episode is more of what I wanted to see. So we got a 10-minute kind of drop in the last episode that I really dug. So this episode is kind of more of what I don't know if I was necessarily expecting of it, but it was more kind of along what I kind of wanted to see. I feel like the show has been dragging its feet, and we could go back and forth about that. But I feel like this episode is definitely, turn the gas or turn the water on, or took my coffee away, and I was fine with it. So I am a little concerned. We only got one more episode to go, and there's a lot of things that got to happen. But overall, enjoyed the episode.
Is there a lot of wrap up? I don't think so. But
I think there's a bunch of ground to cover and things like that. Yeah, I don't want to get into spoilers. But a lot of people.
I don't think there's that much. We're gonna go through your checklist, John. I'm gonna give you the heads up. Give me the checklist of things they have to cover, because I don't think it's gonna go past.
Okay, well, there's things that, like, now we've gotten to a point in the story where you're kind of like, I want to see more now. I want to see more of this. I want to see more of that. So one episode to wrap all, like, kind of like satisfy everybody, I feel like might be tight.
John, you were the one that said you wanted to see this in a 2-hour movie. That would have been tight as well.
Yeah,
so.
No, but the amount of lead up, the 4 episodes preceding this, it makes you feel like there should be another 4 at the back end after we hit this point. But there's not. There's one.
Rob, thoughts?
I gotta say, I'm very surprised that John liked this episode, because at the end of it, at the end of the episode, I was like, I'm hopeful that, because this is a very dramatic episode, we should point out that there's a lack of this dude in the episode completely. Aside from, like, maybe a 3-second cameo. But I thought,
Shouting
man,
at Nona, a cameo,
right.
Of course.
I hope John enjoys this, because it's much more of a dramatic episode, like a deep dive into acting, which is kind of what we've been doing as of late on the Sidekick show. So I'm actually kind of happy to hear that John quite enjoyed this episode. That all being said, I kind of agree with Stu in that I don't really know if there's really much left to. I mean, there's a couple of loose threads, but there's really maybe only 1 or 2. There's really 2. So maybe 3 at most. So at any rate, I thought it was very well done. I think
to the list.
I think Oscar Isaacs deserved. I mean, listen, he did all the lifting in this episode, right? And I think he did a fantastic job. So, it definitely explores a lot of the psyche of the individual that we're dealing with. I'm glad we got a quasi origin story, but it was not. It wasn't a cliched origin story, right? So the way they did it wasn't like a diddle-doo flashback. So overall, I thought it was great. I thought it was an interesting episode, and I'm pretty stoked for next week's finale.
Stu,
John, as we know, numbers to you are very important. Your rating system is solid. It is like the tower of, like, the Pyramid of Giza. It's going to stand the test of time. Once it's chiseled in, cannot be changed. What is your rating of 10 for this episode?
My rating is 0 cups of coffee for this episode. Can I establish that as my new rating system?
So 0. You're giving 0 out of 10.
0 cups of coffee.
How much coffee do you need? Like, what's the scale? You got to be very particular about this. So how does that work?
Oh, yeah, no. Okay, so now
0 cups.
Now the mathematics behind it aren't going to work at all. So
the logic is off, John.
Stick to the number system then. Let's go back to the number system.
Can we use letters?
Yeah, we should be using letters.
Greek alphabet, John. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta.
How many thumbs do I have on my hands?
To a certain point, but I would give this what is it, a V? 1, 2, 3, VIII, 8 out of 10. Let's go with 8 out of 10 for this episode.
Okay, Rob.
Yeah, I guess I too will give it. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Got to be different. In his head,
you guys ever
like,
seen Price is Right?
I was gonna say 8, but John said 8. I can't say the same thing as John.
8.5, Bob.
If this is
Dude,
Price is Right rules, I'm going 8.6 just to go above Rob.
Well played.
This is 8.6. 8.6 would be my thing. Now, Drew, tell us what we've won.
The actual retail price is.
Yeah. 8.7. Boom. All right, we're gonna go spoilers because
What's
frankly,
yours, Stu?
Sorry?
What's your
legit 8.6?
yeah, 8.6. Legitimate.
Okay.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah, 8.6. Okay, so let's go into spoilers because I think at this point a lot can be a lot of what this episode is. We can't. There's no way you can get around it. So we're just gonna go full spoilers in a moment's time. And here we go. Spoilers. So now you know. They're spoiler alert. John, do your patented thing. Great. John, 5 episodes in, you don't think you can catch up. Why? Like, what? Give me your list of things they got to wrap up because you've already teased it. What are they going to wrap up here?
So maybe I don't necessarily mean threads that they have to wrap up or conclusions to storylines. It's just now I feel like we've gotten to the meat of this Moon Knight character. So I'll quickly count down my 3 things that I liked for this episode. So that will lead into why I want to see more of a certain portion. So number 3 is these Sandman zombies. They're pretty freaking awesome. Like, how do you defeat a pile of sand and then you pop off their legs and their heads?
They don't have to be defeated because they're gone. They don't exist. Carry on.
Yeah. Anyways, and then the next thing I really liked, I liked.
Wait, that's not really like this is wrapping up. This is not like you. How I asked you what they have to finish up in the thread. Not what you like.
So yeah, so the whole thing is I want them to continue this storyline, like how dark they got in this episode, how much they're kind of actually diving into this kind of very serious mental illness issue. You know, mental health is a big thing right now. So they've got this whole split personality with Moon Knight, and now they finally delved into the reasoning for it. So instead of becoming a comic punchline, now it's actually become a serious matter. Now he has created Steven to deal with his childhood trauma. So now this, I feel like, is a big deal. This is a big deal for Marvel Universe, for TV, for cinema, whatever you want to call it, to dive into something this serious, and that I think is an issue nowadays. So I feel like this is more of what I wanted to see in Moon Knight. I wanted to see less of a comedic aspect to this and more of a serious tone and dive into this. And Oscar Isaacs does a phenomenal job portraying this, like these elements, his breakdown, his not wanting to see what had come from his past, all these types of things. We're episode 5 now. Now we had 4 episodes of, 4 episodes of essentially filler. We're on 5, right? We're on 5. Yes, 4 episodes of. It felt like a lot of filler, to be honest with you guys. So I'm just saying I wanted to see more of that. And there's also all these memes of the milk carton with Moon Knight's face on it going, lost Moon Knight, been missing for 3 episodes, whatever you want to call it. So they have a lot of things that I would more want to see that they didn't touch on for 4 episodes straight.
You have not answered my question, John.
What's the question again?
You have not answered any of the questions. John, I don't know what to say.
If you're looking for a guy to answer questions, that is not me.
I asked you a very simple question, John.
I'm a smoke and mirrors guy here. You want answers to questions, you got to go to this joker over here.
I think the way you were going on, I think there's a lot more smoke than mirrors.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm like, John, these are a lot of, I'm like, wait, what's happening? And I'm like, wait. I'm trying to I'm trying to see where you're threading the needle. And I just
feel like
I'm
we've
not
got
sure.
one more episode left, and you're not going to get any more of this. The next episode is going to be just the pure action closer for this, and you've opened all these kind of things that you could talk about and you could address and you could and explore. But now you're out of time. That's all I'm saying.
And I want to say something, John, and Mr. John Hull.
Go ahead. Yeah, okay.
What you've said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I've ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that would be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to you, and I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Oh, Billy Madison!
All right, John, the question I asked was, you brought this up. They're gonna wrap up a lot of stuff. What do they have to wrap up?
No, I proceeded with my ridiculous Billy Madison rant. With I think maybe you're right. There aren't particular stories. Oh, I feel like there is. Like who is Ethan Hawke's character?
I want to know what.
Okay, so let's start making a list. Who exactly is Ethan Hawke's character? We don't know exactly who he is.
We already know. It's Arthur Harrow, a former avatar of Khonshu. That's all you need to know.
Is he? What about his origin? How did he become the Avatar?
All the other gods agreed.
Is his look in the psychiatric ward a tribute to Stan Lee as well? Like, there's all these unanswered questions.
What?
When you were sleeping, John, they explained that he was a former avatar of Khonshu.
Right. The other gods all agreed. I think, John, if I may, I think what you're probably trying to refer to is that the things that need to be resolved is, one, they have to rescue Khonshu. Two, we have to find out, hopefully, what those other gods are in the crypt. And three, there has to be that big boss battle between Harrow and Moon Knight.
Well, I would say actually it's three things, Rob, and I would replace the second because I don't think they need to worry about the other gods because that will be a quick wrap up. I think it's the Layla relationship. So one,
what about their relationship?
Khonshu,
that's one.
They already said send a message to Layla and get Khonshu. She'll do that. Done. He'll wake up, get the powers back, whatever. They can bypass a lot of that stuff. Two, Layla and Mark have to reconcile to the point of like explaining what happened. Three, the big fight between Arthur Harrow and Moon Knight, Mark Spector. And then fourth, if he gets back into personality. And that can be dealt at the end with a wink, wink, like different voice. Like, Mark, is that you? And he just turns around and gives another look. Like, that's it. There's not as much really to wrap up. However, the rumors have said that next week's episode is the shortest episode of all of them at 42 minutes. So they're going to wrap up a lot, stick the landing in a lot less time. So,
do you think there is a possibility that Layla could become the new Moon Knight? Because if she's the one that's going to rescue Khonshu, what's to stop him from giving her his...
No, because Layla has to accept it. And I don't think that character is at that point where she is going to do it because
but she did argue about that though, remember?
Yeah, but remember this episode where even Steven was like, hey, he took advantage of you dying. Like, he kind of... he took this guy's avatar, taking advantage of him, and Layla's, let's be very smart, very fair. She's smarter than Mark Spector. So I don't think she's going to fall in that trap. There's nothing that she would sacrifice for it, and Mark would be like, I'm willing to be your avatar again, just leave her out of it. So I just can't foresee her being it right now, maybe in the future. But for the story, I think he'll just continue being Moon Knight for a bit longer until, Oscar Isaac, like, I'm cool, I'm out. So... we'll go back to you, John, now that you've gotten some time to recover. Now you can tell us your things you liked, because clearly you got through it. Sand zombies. What else did you like in this episode?
No, that was it. I'm good. Rob's turn.
You didn't like anything else?
I had two more things.
That was my things, though. It was a Sandman zombies, which is cool. Mm-hmm. Steven's sacrifice. They built up this character, and then he ends up sacrificing him at the end. Very dramatic scene. Obviously, final episode, we're going to see a little nod wink to that character possibly returning, and then, like you said, we'll have the maybe reveal of the third personality. Who knows? Got one episode to cover all this. And then the last thing was this whole kind of dark tone.
Okay, Rob, what are your general thoughts?
Yeah, I liked it. It's off the top of the show. I liked it. I like the idea that listen. I know that a lot of conversation around WandaVision was that they were doing something completely different, and it either worked or it didn't work for people. And I feel that this is probably the same way, just a different method of storytelling, or obviously a different story in which to tell. But like as John said, they're touching on a lot of timely issues, and it feels that like Disney / Marvel are not shying away from a lot of this aspect of things. So I'm appreciative of that. Obviously it's polished off with a superhero rag, but I found it to be very dramatic. I'm not gonna lie. So when they're on the boat and they're talking to the giant hippo, first of all, they don't know who she was, and
No, Stephen Grant did, right?
finally explains it, right? And then you're going through his, you know that you're inside of the asylum, and each door is a doorway into memories, and they're talking about things. And as John had said, and he alluded to, is, you know, you understood what caused the birth of Stephen. What was that traumatic moment, that split that created that personality? And Mark was shielding him away because you start to understand that Stephen lives in this idyllic world where none of this stuff has happened. His mom hasn't died. He doesn't understand. Like, he's still stuck in this one area where he thinks everything is perfect, and it's obviously not. And Mark's like, I'm protecting you from knowing any of this. And you start to understand the trauma that really birthed this whole with the loss of his brother. What I found to be interesting was that on this journey through the underworld, the hippo, I can't remember her name, said that you have to balance your scale.
Hippopotamus.
Hippopotamus. That's right. A little part of the concourse.
Hippopotamus.
You got to balance the scale.
Was that, wait a second, John, was that a Flight of the Conchords reference, or?
No, that's another one from Billy Madison. Oh no, that's from Big Daddy. Another
I thought you were doing a Flight of the Conchords. I was like very on the nose like that. I'm the rhinoceros.
Yes.
So anyway, so when it was a callback to episode 1 about, you know, balancing those scales. So when she pulled the 2 hearts out and you know, trying to balance it out with the feather, I'm not gonna lie, guys, I thought the only way to balance that out was to have that third heart there. So I was really expecting the third personality, which I think you guys, it's John Loxley. Is that his name?
Yeah, John Loxley.
I think it's Jake. I want to say
Jake Loxley.
Sorry,
Okay,
Jake
right.
Yeah, John.
I think it's John Loxley, probably from wrestling. So I figured that that's what we would see, because they did do that little tip of the hat in the last episode. So I was really shocked to shit that it was I don't even know if it was a sacrifice of Stephen, but essentially the closure of Stephen to the, you know, frozen in sands is what caused the balance, thereby essentially eliminating that other multiple personality and making Mark the one singular personality. I thought that was interesting. I didn't expect it to go that way. But, you know, again, it was an origin story of not only Moon Knight as a character, but of Mark Spector and of Stephen Grant. Like, it was a multi-layered origin story. And I thought that the way they had done it was really well done. Again, you know, this was a Oscar Isaac performance of performances. And as far as I'm concerned, if WandaVision is able to get Emmy nominations the way that it had for their season, I don't see why this show couldn't potentially get an Emmy nomination, even for writing for this one episode. So overall, I was very happy with it. I do think I'm a little concerned, as Stu has said, it's a shortened episode. If your final episode is roughly 10 minutes shorter than everything else that's come before it, or 15 at a moment, I guess 59 to 42, that's pretty short, 17 minutes. Like, that is a bit concerning to me, but we'll see how it all plays out. You know, they always leave you wanting more, but the idea is that this is only supposed to be like a 6-episode mini arc, and that's it. So we'll see what happens.
This is his contract, right? Oscar Isaac is
yep.
done. Free agent after this, right? He could go to DC if he wanted.
Well, I think, like I said before, we talked in a previous podcast, was they don't want to lock people in to make it, as Oscar's even said, golden handcuffs. It's like, we want you to be here and collaborate, and they're really doing that with all the actors that they're bringing into these characters. And if you don't, that's fine. No harm, no foul, and we'll continue on our journey. They just don't want to be seen anymore as, like, you know, being holding people back, or, you know, saying, oh, you have to do this, because frankly, as I said before, when that happens, it's really hard to get rid of someone, or the other person can really be like, well, you know, it wasn't my fault. Marvel didn't want me, or I stuck and I had to do it. Like Hugo Weaving hated his whole experience. He's like, I don't want to come back ever. So they're just changing it. So it's fine. It's they have the brand, and they also have the clout to do it. So good for them. Because who doesn't want to be in a Marvel movie property? Even the crappy Fox movies, people can't wait to sign up for them.
Yeah.
Or
Again,
some
it's
too.
probably just the new standard contract. So obviously, from the response to the series, I believe he would be back. Would be my understanding.
Yeah, I think you both touched upon it. The darkness, John, that you liked, and Rob, you've talked about too, is not just. I feel like each Marvel phase, they do have like an underwhelming theme, and this particular couple series is like the whole TV shows. The crux is all about loss, whether it's Bucky losing Cap and all those different things, Wanda losing, Vision, family. You look at Loki losing everything. You look at Moon Knight and the way he deals with loss. You look at Thor in this movie, like the Thor God Love and Thunder. It's like his whole concept is, who am I if I'm not the God of Thunder? Because if anyone could pick up the hammer, which we saw in the trailer, anyone
what?
can be Thor. What am I if I'm not just the God of Thunder? So it's all these kind of phase right now of these films, and even loss of Black Widow and Hawkeye was just, she was just dealing with grief and dealing with loss, and everyone deals with it differently. So it's all the ramifications of the blip and all the things afterwards, and of course the Spider-Man. So it is kind of Marvel's kind of like using that as a way to make these heroes more kind of recognizable, that they're not gods and they're just like you and I, and they deal with the same problems that we do. And loss is universal. So it is interesting that this character that was used was his escape from all the bad things happening. And I was impressed by how far Disney let them go, in terms of having a mother who was not very good to her child and kind of pushing that boundaries to the end. And when she gets the belt, I'm like, oh no, how far are they gonna let us go? So it was good. And I did like the duality of Steven being, like you said, as pure as heart. And it's like, hey man, you are a child, like you didn't know, like it's not your fault. So I thought it was like, again, really well done. And it had moments where I think having Steven, those extended episodes with him, it made the loss of him mean a little bit more when he fell overboard and he turned into sand. You're like, oh no, like they're balanced. Like this is an actual loss, as opposed to if he did a couple jokes in the beginning and you didn't really care about him, then it wouldn't really have any resonance. And that did, because throughout this series he's shown, he's the good-hearted one. Even when he had a chance to throw Mark Spector on the bus, he still told Layla, but hey, he's still a good guy. Like, this is what happened.
They open the series with him, right? Like it's all him. Episode 1 is like all him, right? So
yeah, and then even the part 2 where he wakes up and on the street, and that moment where he cracks and he really becomes Stephen Grant. So I thought it was well done. We talked about kind of the director, and we didn't really talk about Jeremy Slater, who's been one of the big, who's also executive producer and writer for the show. He did Umbrella Academy, Moon Knight, but he also did the crappy Fantastic Four movie and that terrible Death Note movie that was on Netflix, and an untitled Mortal Kombat sequel. So, to your point, John, I have no idea what it's going to be. You could roll the dice. You can tell
it's
me
titled More Crap.
Yeah, like, the fact that he did that Fantastic Four movie, I'm like, ooh, that's, and the Lazarus Effect. I'm like, all these things are strikes against you, because that was not a good movie either. But and then yeah, the Umbrella Academy is kind of also hit or miss. But we have some cool things again this episode, when the hippopotamus said, when she's like, well, it's not, I'm going to take you to Thebes, but it's not as good as the ancestral plains. I turned to my wife. I'm like, oh, there it is. There's the other Marvel touchstone of the. I'm like, there we go. That's the tie-in. Another subtle way of saying this: the Marvel Universe, the ancestral plains.
Yeah.
Again, that world was very much, as we've discussed before, very Superman, aka Gladiator, where he's in a field of wheat. Right, John? So
That's the opening.
field of wheat. And then last thing I thought was really interesting was we did get an interpretation of Bushman in Luke Cage. And when he's like, "Oh, my CEO Bushman," I was like, "There it is. There we go." Like that's the callback. So some of that history is there. John, you watched episode 5. It's probably safe to say your favorite episode. Is that safe to assume?
Yeah, I will agree with you though that you don't get this episode doesn't pay off without the setup. I do question the pacing of the setup. That's all. But yeah, this is definitely my favorite of the episodes so far.
And John, how do you feel about the next episode now that we're at where we're at? Because do you feel like they're going to stick the landing based on your spidey sense? What do you think? How do you think? How do you feel?
I think they will. I just like where they've gotten now. So that's my criticism, that I would want to see more of kind of this path that they've started to take. But with one episode left, I think you're right. They don't have a ton of stuff to tie up. I just think if everyone's thinking this is it for Oscar Isaacs as Moon Knight, then yeah, you're going in thinking, oh my God, he's only got one more episode to do his thing and then he's gone. But like you said, you're right. I think the contracts are some behind the scenes stuff that we probably shouldn't even know about anymore. So if he's likes doing this character and the reception has been good, I think overall he's going to be back. So I think they'll be okay. I question if they're going to reveal that third personality, and then I think they're 100% going to do a nod to the Steven character at the end to let people know that he's still around.
Rob?
Yeah, so I just said, I'm a bit nervous of how they're all going to tie, because I don't want it to feel rushed. The one thing that this series has not done in these 5 episodes is
rush.
Right? To sometimes John's detriment, where he's like,
you can't say I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who thinks they got to pick up the pace.
I've had no issues with the speed of stuff. I did notice that in episode 2 it was markedly slower, but I think it was done on purpose. The one thing I'm going to say is this about the finale is I'm looking forward to it. One, because I can't wait to see how they're going to do it. But number 2 is that I feel like I want to go back and watch the entire series as a whole, because I think watching it, and I get it, to sit down for, close to 6 hours is a long stretch. Maybe do have a couple of days, but I think to watch it all as one story without watching anything in between, I think it'll be really beneficial to really understand the full arc of these characters. So I'm actually pretty stoked to watch the whole thing again in 1 or 2 sittings.
I will hold that question for you, John, until the final episode.
Yeah.
I'll wait. Like if next week shits the bed, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna backpedal on what I said last week.
No, Rob, you gotta sit down. You gotta watch this whole thing again.
But I feel like
more.
I might be rewarded by rewatching the whole thing as a whole. So
the word is might be. We will keep
like that.
Yeah, we might. We'll see what happens. Do you think? Actually, I'll hold up for the next episode, because John, we don't know what's going to happen. So, all right, we're gonna slowly wrap this up, because I think. Were there any other final thoughts that you had about this, John, before we wrap up this episode?
I think people are itching to see more Moon Knight. Like Rob said, he was kind of only in it for like that little flashback. But it did look hella cool when the costume comes on and they're doing this whole kind of like it wraps his face and all that kind of stuff. It looked really good. So if we don't get a lot of Moon Knight content next episode, I think some people might be upset.
So can I ask you guys, though, as people who have read the books and have a much deeper history of Moon Knight than I, does this version of Moon Knight that is more tied to mysticism and whatnot with the costume. Is that more appealing than what my understanding is what it was, is he was more of like the Marvel's version of Batman, where he built the costume, he had all those gadgets, like it was not as magical as it is now. So are you happy with that, the distinction that this is not a Batman ripoff, that they're doing more of the magical, which, as we all know, this seems to be like the phase 6 of Marvel's MCU, magic and mysticism?
I think at the end of the day, all these comic book characters evolve. We can definitely say that Batman that we know now is not the original Batman that was in the comics from ye olden times, right? Like that Batman was not a great detective and all these things. He was typically going around solving crimes and fighting bad guys, but not at the level of Batmanery that's happening right now. And even if you look at very popular characters like Deadpool was not the same character he was when Robert Liefeld kind of threw him into it, and he evolved. You look at some of those popular characters in the MCU or the DCU, like these characters kind of change and evolve, and once you kind of hit something that hits a chord, they truly become popular. So I think it's just an evolution when a writer. That's why we love comics so much, is that a writer can come in, put their imprint, do some things, and then really at the end of the day, with continuity, it doesn't matter. You can just redo anything you want. Well, I feel like we're a little less precious. I think with the MCU and the DCU and all this stuff, we're just so fixated on continuity. But you look at Moon Knight, whether the various incarnations, there have been good things and bad things, just like the Punisher. There was good things and bad things. I didn't like Frankencastle or when he was fighting demons, but they
I love Frankencastle.
They swung for it. So when Spider-Man, when Aunt May, when he wished for his marriage to be dissolved by speaking to Mephisto, things happen. So and even for the better or some for the worse. I think as these characters evolve, you add different nuances to it. I think that's reasonable. It's just even like Blue Beetle, it's changed from Ted Core to Remy Rodriguez. Everything constantly is flux. It's good.
Yeah, I just didn't know. It's just a different take, so I didn't know what your thoughts were.
Yeah, my only concern was the kind of the silliness of Mr. Knight persona. But now they have set it up that Mark Spector can do the kind of Mr. Knight version of Moon Knight as a tribute to Stephen Grant, and maybe he becomes the more serious version in the current comic series. Who knows? But I think Stu hit it on the head. Like the good thing about comics is these characters stick around and they kind of keep evolving. You get different runs, different creators throwing all kinds of different stuff. So we should know that this should be happening in the cinematic universe as well. They should just keep going on. Maybe Oscar Isaac doesn't come back for next season. Maybe they throw someone else in, and they should just keep going with this character. Like I think
so. People shouldn't be pissed off. People should remember that you had a Green Hulk who went gray and went back to green. So comics,
and then he did half for a while too. He did.
That's right.
Yeah,
don't worry about it.
Where it was half and half. No, as not a diehard Moon Knight fan, I can't really testify or whatever, speak on that. I just kind of know the character. Like as a hardcore fan, I can see why you could be pissed.
Even if you're a hardcore fan, it's kind of like Rob and me, like Doctor Who. It's the Whovie. Everyone has their own doctor, and everyone has their own spin on that. There's not one writer in the DC or Marvel universe that gets their character forever. Someone else eventually comes in. It's not like Saga, like one person is writing the storyline. When you work for a comic house like that, you play with the same toys as everyone else, and when you're done, you leave it behind and you go somewhere else. That's what happens when you work for those large multinational corporations. If you don't like it, then you go to Image and you make your own stuff. That's what everyone's doing right now, going to Substack and keeping their own IP. But that's the thing about these characters, is that you can do whatever you want and change them. Like again, Punisher. It was Vietnam. Vietnam was too long ago, so now they've changed it to Afghanistan. Or Frank Castle people are like it has to be Vietnam. Like it can't not be that. The characters will always change because time changes with us. Whether
I think design wise though, it does give him a little more character. It kind of gives him more of that history with the look, the wraps, and the kind of other stuff, instead of just being a white costume that had a hood. I think it has expanded that path. I think so. If you're mad at it, hey, you know what? I understand you, but I feel like it does give him a little bit more identity.
Yeah, but also the fact is, we've tried doing these very realistic comic book costumes, and again, in the comic book is one thing, but in real life, it's a whole different story. You cannot make a comic book costume directly to life. They've tried, and it looks so awful. Like that doesn't. You can't make that look good in a real costume. You saw what the Captain America costume when Chris Evans put that dorky felt costume, and you're like, oh, okay, First Avenger. You're like, oh yeah, that's it's like latex, and then he's wearing that costume. It doesn't really make sense, and that's the thing about the comic mediums. They made that joke in X-Men too, where they're like, why are they wearing all black leather? It's like, would you rather us wearing yellow spandex? Like again,
I still want to see it.
there is a conversion to the medium that takes a toll, and that's the difference. Like, that's why there's comics. If you like comics, just read them. If you want the TV show, watch them. You don't need to.
Man, the most accurate representation was Jupiter's Legacy, okay? And look how great that series did. I can't even say it with a straight face.
Nice try.
Yeah, that was yeah.
Do you guys watch that show?
What an age! 2019. I guess 2019.
It was 2020.
Was it 2020?
2020. It was summer 2020, I think, or was it 2021?
What the year of our Lord 2020. What a naive time.
Do you think they would ever take it off Netflix? Like, if there's some money tied to it?
No.
Sorry, just a side aside. Maybe they have to pay XYZ to have it on there, and they're just like, yeah, it's not worth it anymore. Take it right off.
2021. May 7th, 2021. We're just this shy of a year.
Man. I thought it was 2019 as well, so it doesn't even matter to me. It felt like that long ago. I felt like it was a time when you could get away with something that horrible.
You know what? Like, here's the thing. Delayed. We've watched a lot of stuff for this podcast, and I gotta say, very little of it has stuck in my head. I have to be completely.
I remember the content. When I watched it is questionable. That's fine. All right, we'll put this at a cap because we have one more episode coming. John, tell us where we can find you on the internets and in the real world.
Yeah. So Heroes World Online is going to take you to all our online content, our Instagram, our Facebook, very active, as well as the YouTube if you're listening to this on the audio. If you want to visit us in the real world, 8601 Warden Avenue in Markham, Ontario. We do have a physical location. It's filled with tons of cool shit. So come check us out. We'll set you up. If you're listening on the audio, Heroes World Podcast, I really like the Spotify podcast delivery system. So if you're on there, please give us a 5-star rating if you so feel inclined and you like our content. We could use it. We'll see you in the desert of the real if you want to visit us or online virtually. Give us your comments in the below.
Again, I'm always looking for sessions of what Vanis's cryptic clues are, and let us know your thoughts on Moon Knight. Rob, where can we find what's going on the Sidekick show this week?
Oh boy! So listen, on the Sidekick show Monday, May the 2nd, hard to believe, 8:15 live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. We are going to be diving back into the world of Stephen Strange. And
I don't think he does that.
Well,
looks like he's having a seizure.
You never watched the movie, John, so you'll have to wait and find out. So if you want to watch along with us, it's obviously on Disney Plus here in Canada, or just go and buy it.
Is that on Netflix?
No, I don't think. I think it's Disney Plus now.
Maybe it's so confusing now.
It could be on Netflix though. Yeah, it could be on Netflix.
It could still be on Netflix. So definitely join us. We're gonna revisit it. Why? Well, because in the Multiverse of Madness is opening up in just over a week tomorrow. So we're preparing
for
probably
be covered on this show.
So we're checking out Doctor Strange, going all the way back for a couple of years. John has never seen the movie in its entirety, so this will be fun to go through that. So definitely watch the movie. Join us live Monday night, 8:15 on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And obviously, all those links to the show are in the description here and on the YouTube channel.
Gotcha. Yeah, all right.
Are you looking for where Doctor Strange is? Is that what you're doing?
I was just double checking if it was on Netflix. You know what? The Sony property movies are there. Venom, Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man, Far From Home, The Hulk, Universal's The Hulk, and all the stuff. Yeah, I think all the Marvel stuff has finally left Netflix Canada. So there we go.
It's on Disney Plus, Doctor Strange, 2016.
2016, yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend. Be safe out there, and we'll see you next week. We'll find out where this is the greatest show of all of the universe from John.
10 out of 10.